The line went dead. Not the click of a hang-up, but the hollow silence of a connection severed by shame. For 10 days, they had laughed at her rice field accent. Now, 24 agents sat frozen in their cubicles, staring at their screens as the biggest client's logo vanished from the dashboard. The Indian team lead was crying. The American manager was screaming. But the Filipino coach just stood up, walked to the whiteboard, and erased the word impossible. She turned to them and whispered, "They fired us because they said you sound like cartoons. Tomorrow we call them back. But first, you have to forget how to speak." No one knew she was dying. No one knew that in 72 hours, a bomb would go off in the building next door. And no one knew that the man who mocked her the most would be the one holding her hand when the lights went out forever. The sound of a dozen different ringtones buzzed like trapped wasps inside the glass box they called a training room. It was the third week of the Global English Initiative, and the young men from Mumbai and Delhi were bored. They had been hired to sell broadband internet to old ladies in Texas. But first, they had to pass a 10-day accent correction course. Their teacher was late. Rajiv, a tall agent with a gold chain and a cruel smile, leaned back in his squeaky chair. He mimicked a high-pitched voice. "Hello, ma'am. Would you like the super-fast internet, please?" He exaggerated a lisp. The other trainees laughed. They slapped the plastic tables. Pankaj, a shy boy from Pune, laughed too, even though he felt a knot in his stomach. He knew what was coming. The door opened. She was smaller than they expected, maybe 5 feet 2 inches. Her hair was pulled back, so tight it lifted the corners of her eyes. She wore a white cotton blouse and a navy blue skirt that touched her knees. No makeup, no jewelry, except a thin silver ring on her thumb. She carried no bag, no books, just a rolled-up poster under her arm. She walked to the front of the room, placed the poster on the table, and looked at them. Her name was Imelda Cruz. She was 53 years old. She had been a call center coach for 17 years. She had taught English to Koreans in Manila, Vietnamese in Ho Chi Minh, and Mexicans in Tijuana. But this was her first time in India, and she was nervous. Not because of them, because of the tumor. Rajiv whispered just loud enough for everyone to hear. "Oh no, she sounds like a water buffalo." Another agent, Vikram, snickered. "Maybe she will teach us to eat rice with our hands." Imelda did not react. She uncapped a marker and wrote her name on the whiteboard. Her handwriting was perfect, small, neat, like a typewriter. Then she turned and said, "Good morning. My name is Imelda. For the next 10 days, I will be your accent neutralization coach." Her voice was soft. It had a rhythm. The vowels were round, the consonants soft. She sounded like a mother reading a bedtime story. The trainees exchanged glances. This was going to be easy. They would mock her. She would cry. The company would send someone else. That was the plan. But Imelda did not teach them vowels. She taught them pressure. She walked the first row and stood directly in front of Rajiv. She looked down at his name tag. "Rajiv, please read the sentence on the board." Rajiv rolled his eyes. He read out loud, slow and sarcastic, "The zebra cross a road." He pronounced zebra with a long E sound, the way they said it in Mumbai. A few trainees giggled. Imelda nodded. She did not correct him. Instead, she wrote a single word on the board, "Zebra." Then she said, "In American English, the first vowel is short. Zebra, not zebra. Zay." She said it once, just once. Then she moved to the next trainee. Her eyes scanned the room like a security camera. She missed nothing. By lunchtime, the mockery had gone digital. The trainees had a private WhatsApp group. Rajiv named it Water Buffalo Academy. He posted a voice note imitating Imelda. "Hello, ma'am. Would you like to buy a zebra?" The group exploded with laughing emojis. Pankaj did not laugh. He listened to the voice note 3 times. Something bothered him. Imelda's accent was not bad. It was clear. It was soft. In fact, he thought, she sounded more American than their previous coach, who was actually from Chicago. He tried to say something. "Guys, maybe she knows what she's doing." Rajiv looked at him. "Oh, Pankaj has a crush on the water buffalo." The room erupted again. Pankaj shut his mouth. He would not speak up again for a long time. Day 2. Imelda arrived early. She unrolled the poster. It was a giant mouth, a cross-section of a human mouth, showing the tongue, the teeth, the soft palate. The trainees stared. They had never seen a diagram like this. It looked like a science textbook from a hospital. Imelda pointed to the tongue. In Indian English, your tongue touches the roof of your mouth for T and D. In American English, the tongue taps behind the teeth, like a drum. She demonstrated. Water, water. The trainees mimicked her. Some got it right. Rajiv did not. He deliberately made his T's hard and loud. Water, he shouted. Imelda smiled. She said, very good. Now say it again, but imagine you are holding a baby. Soft, gentle, water. Rajiv's face turned red. He could not do it softly. His voice kept cracking. The other trainees noticed. They stopped laughing. Day 3, the first test. Each trainee had to record themselves reading a customer service script. The recordings would be analyzed by software that graded accent, pace, and tone. The highest score so far in company history was 87%. Imelda listened to each recording with her eyes closed. She did not write notes. She just listened. After 2 hours, she opened her eyes and said, Pankaj, please stand up. Pankaj stood, shaking. Imelda said, you scored 51%. Your problem is not accent. Your problem is confidence. You speak like you are apologizing for existing. The room went silent. Pankaj's eyes filled with tears. Then Imelda said, tonight, you will call my personal number. You will read the script to me until you are not afraid. Do you understand? Pankaj nodded. That night, he called her at 10 p.m. She answered on the first ring. They practiced until 2 in the morning. By the end, Pankaj was not crying anymore. He was angry at himself, angry at Rajiv, angry at the years he spent shrinking. Day 4, the bomb threat came from inside the building. Not a real bomb. An email. Someone in the training group sent an anonymous message to management. The Filipino coach is unqualified. She is destroying our English. Fire her or we walk. The manager, a fat American man named Gary, stormed into the training room during a pronunciation drill. He was red in the face. He pointed at Imelda. You, my office, now. Imelda put down her marker. She looked at the trainees. She did not look scared. She looked disappointed. As she walked out, Raji whispered to Vikram, bye-bye water buffalo. But Pankaj heard something else. As Imelda passed his chair, she touched his shoulder. Just a tap. 3 fingers. Then she was gone. In Gary's office, Imelda sat across from him. He had the anonymous email printed out. He slid it across the desk. Is this true? Are you using outdated methods? Imelda read the email. Her face did not change. Then she said, Gary, do you know why call centers outsource the Philippines? Gary shrugged. Cheap labor. Imelda shook her head. No, because Filipinos sound American on the phone. We learn from your TV shows, your movies, your music. We absorb your accent like rain into soil. I am not here to teach English. I am here to teach your Indian trainees how to unlearn their own pride. That takes time. That takes pain. Gary stared at her. He wanted to fire her, but his boss in New York had hired her. He could not. So he said, you have 6 more days. Fix them, or you fix your resume. Imelda stood up. She walked back to the training room. The door was closed. She could hear laughter inside. She took a deep breath. She pushed the door open, and she said the words that would change everything. She walked to the whiteboard. She erased the vowel chart. She wrote 1 sentence. By Friday, you will sound like you were born in Ohio. Rajiv laughed. Impossible. Imelda turned. For the first time, her voice was not soft. It was sharp, like a knife. You are right. It is impossible. For you, because you spend your energy mocking instead of learning. You laugh at my accent, but I speak 4 languages. How many do you speak, Rajiv? Rajiv opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Imelda continued. You laugh at my country, but my country's call centers answer your country's calls. Every day, 10,000 times an hour. While you are here making jokes, my people are working. So let me tell you a secret. She walked closer to Rajiv, close enough to see the fear in his eyes. The American on the phone does not care about your accent. They care if you solve their problem. But right now, you cannot solve a single problem because you cannot stop being a bully. So here's my offer. Stop mocking me for 10 days. Just 10 days. Do everything I say, and I will turn you into the best agent in this building. Or you can keep laughing and keep failing. The choice is yours. The room was so quiet you could hear the ceiling fan clicking. Rajiv looked at the floor. Then he looked at his friends. They were not laughing anymore. They were waiting. They wanted to see what he would do. Rajiv swallowed. He had never been challenged like this. Not by a teacher. Not by his father. Not by anyone. He opened his mouth. He said, "Fine, 10 days." Imelda nodded. She walked back to the front of the room. She picked up her marker, and she said, "Good. Then let us begin. Open your books to page 40. We have a lot of work to do." But Pankaj was not looking at the book. He was looking at Imelda's hands. They were trembling, just a little, just enough for him to see. She was scared too, and that was when Pankaj realized she was not just teaching him English. She was teaching him how to be brave, and she was running out of time. The morning of day 5 began with a power cut. The entire building went dark at 7:45 a.m. Fans stopped spinning. Computers died. The emergency lights flickered on, casting the training room in a strange orange glow that made everyone look like they were standing inside a dying sunset. Imelda arrived as she always did. Early, quiet, holding a fresh cup of tea. She did not react to the darkness. She simply walked to the window, pulled open the blinds, and let the harsh Indian sun flood the room. Dust motes danced in the light. The trainees blinked like creatures pulled from a cave. Raji was not smiling this morning. His eyes were red. He had not slept. All night, he had practiced the sentence Imelda had given him. "The battery on my laptop is not holding a charge." He had said it 500 times. His tongue felt raw. His jaw ached. And still, when he said it out loud, his old accent slipped through like a thief. "The battery on my laptop is not holding a charge." The hard T's, the chopped vowels. He sounded exactly like his father, who had never left Delhi, who spoke English like it was a shirt that did not fit. Imelda set down her tea. She did not start with pronunciation. She started with a story. "When I was 22 years old," she said, "I took a job at a call center in Manila. My first week, an American man called me a stupid monkey because he did not like his cable bill. I cried in the bathroom for 20 minutes. Then I washed my face and took the next call. That call was from an old woman in Florida whose husband had just died. She did not care about my accent. She just wanted someone to talk to. I stayed on the phone with her for 2 hours. My supervisor fired me the next day for wasting company time. But that old woman sent me a letter. She wrote, 'Thank you for being human.'" Imelda paused. The room was so quiet you could hear the traffic outside. "That letter is still in my drawer at home. I have kept it for 31 years. Do you know why?" No one answered. "Because that old woman taught me something my trainers never did. Accents do not connect people. Patience does. Kindness does. The willingness to sit in someone else's darkness and say, 'I am here. I am listening.' That is what I am trying to teach you. Not how to sound American, but how to sound human." Pankaj felt something crack inside his chest. For his entire life, he had been told that English was a weapon, that if you did not speak it perfectly, you were less intelligent, less valuable, less human. His own mother, who spoke no English at all, had saved for 7 years to send him to an English medium school. And still, he could not say the word vegetable without sounding like he was begging. But Imelda was not asking him to be perfect. She was asking him to be present. He raised his hand. His voice shook. "Ma'am, how do you stop being afraid?" Imelda looked at him. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she walked to his desk, knelt down so her eyes were level with his, and said, "You do not stop being afraid. You just stop running from it. Fear is a wave. You cannot stop the wave. but you can learn to swim. She stood up. Now, everyone, stand up. The trainees looked at each other. Stand up. They stood. Now, Imelda said, I want you to say the worst sentence in the world. The sentence that makes you feel stupid. Say it loud. Say it ugly. Say it wrong. And then say it again. And again, until the fear leave your body. Rajiv hesitated. Then he shouted, the battery on my laptop is not holding a charge. His voice cracked. It sounded terrible. But he did not stop. He said it again, louder. The battery on my laptop is not holding a charge. Pankaj shouted his own demon sentence. I am wanting to speak with the manager, please. Vikram shouted, where's the closest ATM machine? The room became a chaos of broken English. Shouted at full volume, bouncing off the walls. And then, slowly, something shifted. They started laughing, not mocking laughter. Real laughter, the kind that comes from shared humiliation. Rajiv looked at Pankaj. Pankaj looked at Vikram. Vikram looked at the boy who had been silent for 4 days. A boy named Suresh who never spoke because he stuttered. Suresh opened his mouth. Emma, my name is SSS Suresh. The room went quiet. Imelda knelt again. Say it one more time. But this time, pretend you were singing. Suresh took a breath. He imagined the melody. My name is Suresh. No stutter. Perfect. The room erupted in cheers. Day 6. The recording software was back online. Imelda made them record themselves reading the same script from day 3. This time, she did not listen with her eyes closed. She stood behind each trainee, whispering corrections like a coach at a boxing match. Softer T. Roll the R. Breathe from your stomach. You are not reading. You are talking to friend. Rajiv's turn came. He pressed record. He read, thank you for calling customer service. My name is Rajiv. How may I help you today? The software processed. The score appeared, 72%. Rajiv stared. 72. Just 3 days ago, he had scored 41. He had improved by 31 points. He looked at Imelda. She was not smiling. She was not clapping. She just nodded once. That single nod meant more to Rajiv than any applause, because it was honest. It said, you are not there yet, but you are on the path. He sat down and immediately started practicing again. That night, something happened that was not in the training plan. After the session ended, Rajiv stayed behind. He waited until everyone else had left. Then he walked to Imelda, who was erasing the whiteboard. He said, ma'am, I am sorry. Imelda did not turn around. For what? For the WhatsApp group. For the water buffalo jokes. For mocking you on the first day. Imelda kept erasing. Why are you telling me this? Rajiv's voice dropped to a whisper. Because my father speaks exactly like you. He is from a small village. He never finished school. When I was a child, I was embarrassed by his English. I used to correct him in front of his friends. I made him feel small. And I never apologized. Not once. He died last year. And now I cannot. Imelda stopped erasing. She turned around. Her eyes were wet. She walked to Rajiv and took his hands. His hands were large, calloused, the hands of a man who had never been held. She said, your father heard you, even if you did not say the words. He heard you, and he knew. A father always knows. Rajiv broke. He fell to his knees and sobbed. Imelda knelt with him. She did not say it was okay, because it was not okay, but she stayed. She stayed until his tears ran dry. Day 7. Gary, the manager, walked into the training room unannounced. He had a piece of paper in his hand. His face was strange, not angry, not happy, something in between. Imelda, the New York office wants a progress report. They want to hear the trainees live. Today, in 1 hour. The room went cold. Live, not recorded, not practiced. Live, meaning if they made a mistake, it would be heard by the people who signed their paychecks. Imelda did not flinch. She looked at her trainees. You heard the man. 1 hour. Pair up. Practice your opening and closing statements. Rajiv, you go first. Pankaj, you go last. Suresh, you will go third. No one speaks to the client until I have heard you 3 times. Move. The next hour was the most intense of their lives. Imelda moved between them like a storm. She corrected. She pushed. She demanded. When Vikram said, "I am not understanding," she made him say, "I do not understand," 50 times. When Suresh froze, she made him sing the sentence. When Pankaj whispered, she made him shout. And when Rajiv's old accent slipped back, she did not correct him. She just looked at him. That was enough. Rajiv fixed it himself. The call came at 3 p.m. exactly. A conference call. On the line were Gary, the New York operations director, a woman named Cheryl with a voice like gravel, and a mystery client who had requested to remain anonymous. The trainees were arranged in a semicircle around a single speakerphone. Imelda stood behind them, out of sight. Rajiv was first. He pressed a button. His hands were shaking. He took a breath. He remembered Imelda's words. "You are not reading. You are talking to a friend." He spoke. "Thank you for calling Global Support. My name is Rajiv. How may I help you today?" The voice on the other end was an American man, middle-aged, tired. "Yeah, my internet keeps dropping every time it rains. What are you going to do about it?" Rajiv's heart pounded. Every time it rains. The R sound. The soft A. He said, "I understand how frustrating that can be, sir. May I ask if your router is near a window?" His voice was steady. His accent was not perfect. The word window still had a slight roundness. But it was clear. It was calm. The man on the phone paused. "You know what? You're the first person who didn't sound like a robot." "Yeah, the router is by the window. Should I move it?" Rajiv almost cried. He almost laughed. He looked at Imelda. She was smiling. A real smile. He said, "Yes, sir, if you move it away from the window. The moisture should not affect the signal. Can you do that for me now?" The call lasted 4 more minutes. At the end, the man said, "Thanks, Rajiv. You're all right." Then he hung up. The room exploded. But Imelda raised her hand. Silence. Next. Pankaj was next. His hands were wet. His mouth was dry. He pressed a button. "Thank you for calling. My name is Pankaj. How may I help?" The voice was a woman this time. Old. Cracked. "Oh, honey, I don't need help. I just need to know if you're real." Pankaj froze. "Real? What did that mean?" He looked at Imelda. She mouthed one word. "Human." Pankaj took a breath. He let his accent soften. He let his voice drop. He said, "I am real, ma'am. I am sitting in a room in India. It is very hot today. My shirt is sticking to my back. And I am talking to you. So yes, I am real." The old woman laughed. It was a dusty laugh, like a chair being moved across a wooden floor. "Well, Pankaj from India with the sticky shirt. Thank you for being honest. Most of you boys just read from a screen." Pankaj smiled. "I am not reading, ma'am. I am talking to you." The call lasted 12 minutes. She did not have a problem with her internet. She was lonely. Her husband had died 2 months ago. She just wanted someone to say goodnight. Pankaj said goodnight. Then he hung up. He looked at Imelda. She was crying, quietly, tears running down her face without a sound. Pankaj realized then that she was not crying because he had done well. She was crying because she was dying, and she had just heard him become the person she would never get to see. Suresh went third. He stuttered only once on the word customer. He stopped. He took a breath. He imagined the melody. Customer. Perfect. He finished his call without another stutter. Vikram went fourth. He did not say, "I am not understanding," even once. He said, "I do not understand," like he had been saying it his whole life. The mystery client on the other end was silent for most of calls. Then, at the end of the last trainee's call, the client spoke. "This is Cheryl again." The client was me. I wanted to hear for myself. "Imelda, are you there?" Imelda stepped forward. "Yes, Cheryl." Cheryl's voice was different now, softer. 10 days ago, these trainees sounded like they were reading ingredients off a cereal box. Today, they sound like humans. Whatever you are doing, keep doing it. The call ended. The room erupted again. But this time, Imelda did not raise her hand for silence. She let them cheer. She let them hug each other. She let Rajiv lift Pankaj off the ground. She stood in the corner and watched them, and she thought about the tumor. The doctors had given her 6 months. That was 4 months ago. She did not have much time left. But right now, in this room, she had everything. That night, after everyone had gone home, Imelda stayed. She sat in the dark training room. She took out her phone. She dialed a number in Manila. Her sister answered. How's India? Imelda closed her eyes. It is good. The boys are learning. Her sister paused. Have you told them? About the sickness? Imelda opened her eyes. She looked at the whiteboard. The words patience, kindness, human, were still there, ghostly in the dark. No, she said. Not yet. Maybe never. Some lessons are not for sharing. Some lessons are just for living. She hung up. She sat in the dark for a long time. Then she stood up, turned off the lights, and walked out into the Indian night. She did not know that in less than 48 hours, a bomb would go off in the building next door. She did not know that the explosion would trap her under a concrete beam. She did not know that Rajiv, the boy who had mocked her, would be the one to find her. And she did not know that in her final moments, she would teach them one last lesson, the most important one of all. Day 9 began like any other. The sun rose over the Indian city, burning away the morning fog. The call center hummed with the sound of ringing phones and tapping keyboards. The trainees arrived early, all of them. Even Rajiv, who had never been early to anything in his life, was sitting at his desk by 7:30 a.m. He was practicing. Soft T's. Rolled R's. The sentence that had once been impossible. The battery on my laptop is not holding a charge. Now, he could say it in his sleep. He said it to himself while brushing his teeth. He said it while walking to work. He said it so many times that his mother had asked him if he was in love. He was not in love. Not with a person. He was in love with the feeling of not being afraid. Imelda had given him that. She had walked into this room 10 days ago, small and quiet, and she had broken down a wall that he had been building since childhood. The wall that said you must be perfect to be worthy. She had shown him that the opposite of perfect was not failure. The opposite of perfect was real. Imelda arrived at 8 a.m. She was paler than usual. Her blouse, always crisp and white, hung a little looser on her frame. Pankaj noticed. He had been noticing for days. The way she sometimes put her hand on her lower back when she thought no one was looking. The way she drank water constantly, as if her throat was always dry. The way she smiled less and less, not because she was sad, but because smiling took energy she did not have. He wanted to ask her, "Are you sick? Are you in pain? Do you need help?" But he could not form words. Not because of his accent, because of his fear. If he asked, she might tell him the truth, and he was not ready for the truth. So he said nothing. He opened his book. He practiced his vowels. He pretended everything was normal. But nothing was normal, and in less than 4 hours, normal would disappear forever. The morning session was about tone, not accent. Tone. Imelda wrote on the board. Angry customer. Sad customer. Confused customer. Lonely customer. Then she said, "Your accent does not matter if your tone is wrong. You can sound like the Queen of England, but if you sound annoyed, the customer will hang up. You can sound like a farmer from Manila, but if you sound kind, the customer will stay." Today we practice tone. She paired them up. Rajiv with Suresh. Pankaj with Vikram. One played the customer. One played the agent. Then they switched. The room filled with fake arguments, fake tears, fake confusion. It was loud and silly, and sometimes the fake anger turned into real laughter. At one point, Suresh pretended to be an angry old man shouting about a broken refrigerator. His voice was so high and ridiculous that Rajiv could not keep a straight face. He burst out laughing. Then Suresh burst out laughing. Then Imelda, from the front of the room, started laughing too. It was the first time they had heard her really laugh. It was a small laugh, almost a cough, but it was real. It sounded like wind chimes. Rajiv looked at her. For a moment, she looked young. She looked like the woman she had been before the tumor, before the 17 years of teaching, before the lonely nights in foreign countries. She looked like someone who had once danced at a wedding, who had once sung karaoke off-key, who had once been in love. And then the moment passed. She cleared her throat. "Back to work," she said. But the laughter stayed in the room like a ghost. A good ghost. He walked back to Rajiv. He said, "We are not leaving her." Rajiv looked up. His eyes were red. "Pankaj," she said, "I do not care what she said. We are not leaving her." Pankaj turned to the other trainees. "We are to lift this beam. Together. On 3. And then we are going to carry her out. Who is with me?" Every single one of them stepped forward. 23 young men, bleeding, terrified, standing in the ruins of their training room. They gathered around the beam. They put their hands on the cold concrete. Pankaj counted. 1, 2, 3. They lifted. The beam did not move. They pushed harder. Veins bulged in their necks. Teeth ground together. The beam shifted. 1 inch. 2 inches. Imelda gasped. The pressure on her legs released. "Pull her out." Rajiv grabbed her under the arms. He pulled. She slid out from under the beam. Her legs were bent at wrong angles. Blood soaked through her white blouse. But she was breathing. She was alive. "Go! Go! Go!" The trainees ran. Rajiv carried Imelda in his arms. She weighed nothing. She felt like a bird, a small, broken bird. They ran through the debris tunnel. They ran through the shattered doorway. They ran down the stairs, past cracked walls and hanging wires. They ran into the street. The sun was blinding. Sirens wailed in the distance. Rajiv laid Imelda on the ground. An ambulance was coming. He could hear it. "Hold on, ma'am. Just hold on." Imelda opened her eyes. The sun was in her face. It was warm. It felt like Manila, like the beaches of her childhood, like her mother's hands. She looked up at Rajiv. His face was blurred. She could not see him clearly anymore, but she could hear him. "Ma'am, the ambulance is coming. You're going to be okay." She wanted to tell him the truth, that she was not going to be okay, that she had known for months that this was coming, that the bomb had only hurried what was already written. But she did not have the strength, so she said something else, something she had wanted to say since the first day. "Rajiv, you sound like you were born in Ohio." He laughed. It was a broken sound, but it was a laugh. "Shut up, ma'am. Save your energy." She smiled. Her eyes closed. The siren grew louder, and then louder, and then it was right there. Hands lifted her. A stretcher. Voices speaking fast. English. Hindi. A language she did not know. She tried to open her eyes. She could not. She tried to speak. She could not, but she could feel. She felt someone holding her hand. She did not know who. It did not matter. A hand was a hand. A human was a human. She had spent her whole life teaching people to connect. And now, in her final moment, she was connected to 23 boys who had once mocked her, who now loved her, who would carry her voice in their mouths forever. She took one last breath, and then she let go. She died at 2:17 p.m. The doctor said it was the internal injuries from the beam, but Rajiv knew the truth. She had been dying long before the bomb. The beam had just released her from the pain she had been carrying alone. The trainees sat in the hospital waiting room for 6 hours. No one spoke. Pankaj stared at the floor. Vikram stared at the ceiling. Suresh hummed a melody under his breath. It was the melody he had used to say his name. He hummed it over and over. Rajiv sat apart from the others. He held Imelda's silver ring, the one from her thumb. He had taken it from her finger before the ambulance took her. He did not know why. He just knew he could not leave it behind. He rolled it between his fingers. It was warm. It still held her heat. He thought about the first day, the water buffalo jokes, the WhatsApp group, the way he had mocked her accent, the way she had not reacted, the way she had waited until he was broken enough to listen. He understood now. She had not been teaching him English. She had been teaching him how to apologize. And he had apologized. Too late. But he had done it. She had heard him. That was enough. It had to be enough. They buried her in India. Not because her family wanted it. Because she had left instructions. A letter in her desk drawer, written in her perfect handwriting. It said, If I die here, bury me here. These boys are my family now. Let me watch over them. The funeral was small, 24 people. The 23 trainees and Gary the manager, who cried like a child. The priest spoke in English and Hindi. He did not know Imelda. He read from a script. But when he finished, Rajiv stood up. He walked to the front. He looked at the coffin. It was simple, wood, unpainted. He opened his mouth. He said, "My name is Rajiv. 10 days ago, I was a bully. Today, I am not. I am not because of this woman. She taught me that an accent is not a wall. It is a bridge. She taught me that fear is not a weakness. It is a wave. She taught me that the most important words in any language are not hello or thank you. They are, I am sorry. I see you. I will stay." He paused. His voice did not crack. His accent was soft and clear. He sounded like he had been born in Ohio. He sounded like he had been born in Manila. He sounded like Imelda. "She is gone," he said, "but she is not gone. She is in every call we take, every customer we help, every time we choose kindness over mockery. She is in the way we speak. She is in the way we listen. She is in the silence between the words. And that silence is where she lives now, in the space where patience meets pain, where love meets loss, where a small woman from a small island taught 23 fools how to be human." He sat down. The room was silent. Then Suresh stood up. He took a breath. He imagined a melody. He sang, "Thank you for being human." His voice was clear. No stutter. Perfect. One by one, the others joined. 23 voices rising together. They did not sound like Indians. They did not sound like Filipinos. They sounded like Imelda. And somewhere, in a place beyond the silence, she heard them, and she smiled.